but
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the toughest time I had was a very early on in the year. It was with Anderson, and kind of both of us were sort of pronouncing it Anderson most of the time or half the time, and we got some people got really riled up with all the messages on the YouTube things like, please pronounce this right. And just like, okay, we're trying. Give us a chance here.
Yeah. It's tough when you're, in some instances.
Like same time as yours. Okay. Yeah. 14-6. Yeah. Good line.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Martensville, Saskatchewan for the Curling Stadium Martensville International Curling Bonspiel Draw number 5. My name's Jim Nix. I'm here with Marty Thompson and Tim Burton on the production end, and we're happy to be joining you for this one. It took us a little while to get going, Marty, but we're good to go now, I think.
Yeah, we certainly are. It's going to be a really exciting game. Kleiter, and we watched both of their games earlier on, a win and a loss for this team that's very much kind of that hometown mentality out here in Saskatchewan. Meantime, this team from the Netherlands certainly wants to prove here, going 0-2 to start. Yeah, it should be really exciting.
Yeah, we each got to watch a different Kleiter game yesterday, but generally speaking, he likes to play with some rocks and play, and was really starting to prove himself on at the elite level of curling teams. He had a great Brier, and he might not have been 100% happy with the record, but I saw a few of his games and I thought he was playing quite well, so nice to see.
Yeah, lots of good execution, especially in the late game yesterday against Wesley Windling. Lots of rocks in play. You're right. I know that Matt Hall has kind of come in as that role to loosen up some of that really aggressive play and try to think a little bit differently. But when they're executing the way they are, at least what I saw from yesterday, they're tough to beat, and they'd certainly be up there. Hopefully by the end of this week, they're hoping.
Yeah, so I'm not quite sure who had hammer, but I think it was a pretty close draw to the button.
Looks like I think it might be the Dutch team with the advantage. My apologies, might be Kleiter actually.
Yeah, this looks like it's the 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe the 6th rock at the end. His third first one. Nice little roll there. So both teams were on the pin, and they had to use the triangulation method, I guess, to decide who had shot rock or who had the closest draw. That's a pretty good effort for this early in the morning.
Kleiter already looking at that kind of that run. Josh Patrick throwing third stones for this team.
Yeah, I think this early in the game, this is not a bad shot. It's a fairly short run and quite ready to get really into it here. Josh, a left-hander. Left-hander's out turn. Just a little gentle clean here. That's pretty close. Hold it for a little bit. Just kind of lost it a little bit at the end. I think that they would have liked to have held that on a little bit, but got rid of it.
Yeah, obviously, it's tough to tell on streams, but it really looks like there's some good finish on some of these hit weights that these teams have been throwing all weekend. Smart, obviously, to play it down just to make sure you can kind of control that shooter. But yeah, we're seeing lots of good finish on these guys.
Yeah, we've been here a few times this year, Martensville. It's generally speaking, very, very good ice. Some decent curl and some nice finish, as you say. And speed is usually pretty good. I haven't checked it at all yesterday, actually, but it looked kind of normalish. So. Gosgens been around for a while. This team has been out of the Netherlands for a number of years. I think he's got, multiple trips to the World Championships for sure. He plays over here a fair bit, maybe not quite as much as some teams, but I've seen him in Halifax on the East Coast. So I've seen him in Halifax a couple times over the years.
Yeah, they went 2-7 at the Euros and actually got relegated to the B division, which is certainly not what they would have envisioned, considering a team that's been to World, as you mentioned, quite a lot.
Yeah, that's not a good run at all. I didn't realize that. Yeah, there's more and more countries playing and more countries producing good teams, so you can't just automatically assume you're going to get to go anymore, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially at the high end of the Euros too, just some of those sort of mid-tier teams really getting just more and more competitive. I mean, Italy is a good example. It used to be kind of that sort of middle of the pack type team, but obviously it's shot up. Norway's a solid team as well, so you really got to watch when you get to that level for sure. Lots of good teams. I guess Kleiter's just trying to kind of play the little chase, eh?
Yeah, it just looks funny to the eye here because it looks like it'd be so much easier on the other turn, but it's going to go after it a little bit with some soft weight. In turn, probably guessing hackish sort of weight, I would imagine.
Great chance to use your squeezers here. I wouldn't be surprised to see Trevor Johnson start to carve this.
Yeah, good call right about now, probably. It's got to hold it a little bit. Lots of curl, as you just mentioned. Not get rid of it. Still a decent shot, but he's still leaving Gosgens sitting shot, I believe, and chance to maybe make it a little bit tougher on Rylan.
Yeah, I guess that's an example of that good aggressive play calling where Kleiter wanted to hit and then roll in behind just based off the sweeping there, it wanted to roll behind the corner guard.
Yeah.
When in reality, I think you could have come right to the face and just bumped it back. But certainly some aggressive play calling and a really good chance for this Dutch team to take this and look for the force. Looking at this ice, I think it's moving enough inside out. This is a board sheet. So going away towards the board, we'll see. But this looks like decent ice for sure.
Yeah, I think if Kleiter had just another 2 feet of weight on that, he would have had a perfect shot. That would have he still would have been shot and behind the guard totally. So good effort.
Key here for Gosgens is just get to as much of that yellow rock as they can.
Yeah. So Wouter Gosgens now is going to try to remove this on the out turn and try to get it to curl. He's still on the high guard. I'm not sure if he's going to get by, and he will not get by. Looked like he maybe in-outed that a little bit.
Yeah, it's obviously, again, hard to tell on stream. I know he had a pretty large extension there.
Yeah.
It might have been maybe a calibration on weight, thinking he needed a little bit more based off his kick speed. It is early in the game, but yeah, an unfortunate miss, but a great opportunity here for Team Kleiter to take their 2 to start.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty open hit and stick for 2 in the first end. Can't really beat that. Yeah, you mentioned the extension. It's interesting in curling how the deliveries have changed, and that's a bit of a product of ice conditions and whatnot at the elite levels, and you see a lot of it. You'll see it even with Rylan here. He has at least on draws, I assume he has the same here. It's a very distinct. He's a little smoother, but on his draws, I always find he just looks like he's giving it. It's beyond what we would have considered to be an extension just a few years ago, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Working this one hard, probably going to be okay. He's got to come up a hair more, and he'll be fine. The houses aren't crazy lively here, but they're okay. So a big deuce for Kleiter in the first end, and he will take a 2-0 lead to end number 2 when we come back from the break.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's Ice Pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel because we are everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. With SaskTel sponsorships, we get to be part of your community. We're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. SaskTel cares. Always has, always will. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
The people have spoken, the votes are in, and the players are ready to rock. At curling's first ever All-Star event, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th, where 13 of the world's best men's and women's curlers face off for a star-studded celebrity pro-am, a unique skills competition, and an all-star skins game you won't want to miss. Got a ticket? We'll see you in Music City. don't have one? Better hurry. They're going fast. The 2025 TCG All-Star Game. Live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th. Let's rock.
Welcome back. And number 2 here in our game between Gosgens and Kleiter. Draw number 5 rather in this event. 4 draws yesterday. As you mentioned before, Gosgens sitting at 0-2 needs to get going if he's going to have any chance of making the playoffs. And Kleiter really can't afford another loss either, I don't think, at this point. I think there'll be a lot of 2-2 teams that get in, but it might come down to some tiebreakers that aren't always in your favor.
Yeah, the format just kind of being that open round robin. You play your 4 games and you hope to be in the top 8. I agree for sure. I think for this Dutch team, I think they've got the 3 games today. You just got to win out. And yeah, for Kleiter, it's, you'd expect them to make the playoffs. I think right now there's just the odd team that's kind of 2-0 or whatever. But yeah, you certainly expect them to be up there.
So that first end, Marty, just kind of ended with a deuce. It didn't really look like it was going to develop into a 2 for sure, but just one little miss at this level usually makes you pay.
Yeah, I'm sure Gosgens will be kicking himself over that hit for sure. But again, I think in that instance, we saw what kind of weight they were trying to throw. When you try to throw that down weight to really control it, there's a lot more other variables, right? It's not like you're just trying to throw weight to get rid of a stone. So I think in that case, they just got into that variable where, it just looked based on the extension, they just need a little bit more weight. And then, yeah, that simple little mistake trying to be that precise ends up costing you 2 points to start.
So Gosgens with hammer. You can come around the corner. You guys are sweeping this. Not real hard, though. Not sure they're confident it's going to get there, and no, it will not. Sometimes tell by how keen the sweepers really are on a shot. It's like, well, I don't know. I don't think it's going to get there. Just by energy levels.
Yeah. Even 8 a.m. in Martensville, you can feel it. Yeah. Kleiter, that's just protecting this one. I mean, top 4 is pretty nice. If you stick this guard anywhere along the center line, suddenly things are getting a little ugly here. This is Matt Hall's throw.
Yeah, and that second stone for Kleiter does hold the broom, as we talked earlier, just briefly on it, and a lot of experience and pretty good guy to have in the house. I think not real familiar with him until this year. So, okay, let's sneak it over.
Yeah, he's kind of that. I think listen to the Briar broadcast. I think it was quoted as kind of being that big brother figure, so to speak, on this team, where he's maybe only just slightly older than these guys, but adds a little bit more of that experience. And when you have a young team in the sport that you want to prop up, sometimes it's adding that little bit of veteran leadership or something else different to really take the team to the next level, which they obviously have this year.
Yep. Trying to make the double peel here. He'll get one of them. So Kleiter sitting with a rock, biting the top of the button. Love the logo. I always thought that was a neat logo here. The brewing company. But, yeah, Kleiter in pretty good shape here right now, early in this end. Trying to replace that high guard. These are always tough shots to throw. For me, I liken them sometime back in the old days when you were a lead, you had a lot of room to work with. Now when you're a lead, you're throwing to sometimes smaller areas than the skip has to throw when he's drawing the 4-foot. So
yeah, for real. So another chance to rip here for this Dutch team. certainly lined up, and if you ever made this, you know, you could have a real bundle of corner guards to utilize.
Absolutely.
Oof, super close.
Yeah, really close. And unfortunately, it didn't work out great for him, but it was a heck of a try. I would think you'd want to just duck right into the top of the 8-foot area, wouldn't you? I would. That's what I would do, anyways. Just add a little bit more pressure.
Yeah, I think there's a bit of tolerance with this for sure. You could kind of go in a couple different spots and still end up with your desired outcome. But you're right, if you ended up in that 8-foot area, it makes a potential draw maybe even that much harder if they tried to come to the yellow, right?
Yeah, and you could probably take the run back on the red way as well, and still kind of could get a lot out of it if it goes there. It might end up there anyways.
This is running well for top 8. Over curled a little bit on them. I mean, the chase is still obviously quite difficult, but it certainly, if that was the last shot here for Gosgens, it's certainly difficult. There's just, you got to be wary of that high guard, right? That it's so high at this point that you can come around relatively easily, as we just saw with that stone. So
yeah, I agree. I think back that rock up another rock or rock and a half or something, and just split the center line is pretty darn good. But it's not bad where it is, but it's.
This is Lawrence Hoekman throwing third stones, longtime teammate here of Gosgens.
Looking for the little soft hitting, maybe roll behind the corner, although that's quite a roll.
Megan on the curl here.
Yeah, it doesn't look like they're trying to make that roll. Oh yeah, maybe might be perfect. Just about. That was a great effort. That was just needed to curl up another inch probably, and it would have been ideal.
Yeah, and there's another way of making that shot where you actually hit the one behind.
Yeah.
It likely is biting, so it's not something they could potentially use depending how this end progresses, but.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to know if that the little black rim around the house there is in the house or off the house. Yeah, the aerial isn't always perfect either, but. So same basic shot for Team Kleiter here, looking to pretty much split the center line, and you see Rylan now has his broom just outside of the house.
Okay, a keen eye right now could spot a little biter stick on the sideboard. So if they need to use it, it's right there.
It's close, yeah. So they don't need to take the traditional 3-4 minutes to decide to measure.
We could run the commercial break then and just come back.
Yeah, I know. We're all guilty as curlers. I think we've all been there where it's you look and you look and you look and you look. It's like, okay, we better measure. It's like, could have saved 3 minutes just by doing that in the first place. But.
So chance to clear out some granite here. I like this call. There's also if you hit a thick part of it, you can even just run that straight back and hit the one on the top 4. That might actually be the intended shot, but.
Yeah, that's a shot I was a little surprised that they weren't trying to take away. He's not going to do that. He's going to be lucky to hit it. He got a piece, but not a good throw, really. Needed to lose that shooter, if nothing else.
Yeah, there's kind of a big set there. Maybe bigger than he wanted.
Yeah. Yeah, it's made the potential run back even that much harder, I think, although it's a little hard to tell.
This is a good conversation from Kleiter and Hall, where they're saying, hey, this guard is so high. Why don't we just come all the way across and line up those yellows so that they're set up so they can't do that same run. Like if they did the run off that red, which is a really smart call. You know, if he managed to put this here, then I guess he just has to make it anyways. So, you know, be more tempted maybe just to throw something top 8 or whatever, but it's like, no, let's try to be precise, especially because they've seen a couple rocks actually hit this hit this path in the ice so far this end. So just try to play that same thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that'd be a great spot if you can line the 2 yellows up in the right way. So if he ever runs a red, he doesn't get rid of both. And if you ever drop it short, and if he can make that run back, which he can, I think if he wants to throw it with a little bit down weight, and you're still wondering whether the other red is in the house. So I think I want this one to be looped around and in the rings. Looks like it's never going to get there before it gets to the hog line. That goes sideways pretty good. Maybe not good enough. Well, he's got a second rock in the house, but Rylan won't be real happy with that shot, I don't think.
Yeah, overthrown. I mean, not the worst time for a miss, considering that this is the rock that Gosgens has to chase anyways. But yeah, you're right. I think if he puts that rock in the right spot, I think he's in the money for a steal.
Yeah. So Wouter now will look at lay the little freeze bump on this shot, I think. I don't think he's necessarily too worried about removing it. He just wants to make sure he gets his own there. Maybe even gets a little bit of an inside flop. Wouldn't be terrible.
With this ice, I'm not sure exactly what kind of weight they want to throw. It is actually quite tight. If they were throwing a back 4 or something, it wouldn't surprise me if this is going to punch it back.
Yeah.
But you're right. You'd almost, you'd be tempted to try to throw like a back 4 and just get to the face and see if you can't be shot buried. But
yeah, he just has the ice there that's a little bit hard to tell for sure what he's going to throw.
Alex Mangan on the call, just calling it wide right away.
Yeah. It's a great sweeping effort on that shot, I'll tell you, but all for naught, but great try. I just think I think he had ice that was very, very difficult. It was sort of that in-between weight. I would like to have seen either a little less if he's going to throw it that hard or a little more if he's going to play the shot that we were talking about, where I think that's a better shot. I think going at that with that much weight was not really the plan. Sometimes you don't throw what you think you're going to throw either, I guess, is the other part.
If I had to guess, I think they were trying to throw something that was close to back line, and I think he got towards hack. Something else I've noticed for the first 2 games is that, the weight sensitivity with line here, it's, we've definitely seen some rocks come back and are carvable, but that's mostly just draws. I think if you throw any kind of hit, it's going to run pretty straight on you. So that might have been what happened there.
Yeah. Gosgens in some definite trouble here. It'd be hard pressed to score. He might have to make a cold draw right to the button to score here. Depending on where Rylan goes with this.
This looks tighter, and they're pretty smart to try to carve here, and carving for distance too. Great spot.
Yeah, it's a very good shot. Not much choice now. It's a big shot, basically a shot to keep you in the game more than anything else, and kind of has to have the button.
Yeah, this early on, it's a daunting task for sure, but I mean,
let's hope he was the guy that did the draw to the button.
I mean, I guess the good news is that it's a path that almost every single rock has gone down. Every draw, anyways, this end has gone down. So you'll know it'd be up to speed. Your sweepers have seen it enough. You've seen it enough from the house. So hopefully they can dial us in here. This Dutch team's already under some pressure.
A lot of pressure on the sweepers on a shot like this as well. Got him at 13-3. That's probably a little heavy.
It's got to sit. Oh, wow.
I'll tell you, that is a great shot. I think it might be shot, and it is. What a terrific shot by Gosgens to really keep his team in the game here in the second end. And they will pick up a single and now trail Rylan Kleiter by a score of 2-1 after 2 ends. We'll be back in just a minute.
Team Homan rocks. Team Mowat rocks. But who rocks harder? On April 7th, we'll find out. Presented by Rio Mare, join us in Toronto at the Curling Group's first ever Battle of the Sexes, as world #1 Team Homan takes on world #1 Team Mowat in a head-to-head charity curling skins game with a twist. 8 ends, 4 rule changes, and curling like you've never seen before. Watch it live on the Grand Slam of Curling website, app, and YouTube with celebrity coaches and special guest appearances. The Curling Group's first ever Rio Mare Battle of the Sexes, April 7th, Mattamy Athletic Center in Toronto. Get your tickets now at thegrandslamofcurling.com. Let's rock!
Looks like they left the stage. Wonder what I can do with that.
I don't know if we have a replay or not. So welcome back. We're thanks to a great shot here by Gosgens in the last end. And Marty, tell us how he made that one.
Well, it went a little wider, I think, than I expected. I really liked the management from the sweepers because they did have some room on that guard, and if it was, I think it was the right tolerance to try to throw it that way. I know you got like a 13-second split. It's hard to tell, obviously, how slow or fast the ice really is, but I liked the way that they managed it. And the other way they could have made it is if they were like heavy and tight, right, where you could kind of tick off of those yellows, but they managed that. They didn't need any tolerance. I just thought that was a really well managed rock. Obviously a good throw, but credit to the sweepers for putting that one together. Not easy to go to the pin, and especially to the back of the pin like that, but kept a broom on it. You saw how much it dove and it cut in once it started touching the rings, but that was a really well managed rock too. I think, as you rightly point out, really just keep them in the game at this point. Yeah,
I thought it was a tremendous effort by the sweepers for sure. I looked heavy to me, and I agree with you. I think they just did a really, really good job on that shot. And really, if like you say, we still have a game to watch. It was a little bit questionable after if he had missed that shot. So not too many 5-0 comebacks that you see at this level of curling for sure.
Maybe doubles, but certainly not in fours.
Yeah, maybe doubles. Yeah. So Kleiter with hammer and a 2-1 lead here. Third end in Martensville. Thank you all for getting up fairly early if you're out west and to watch this one. And thanks to everybody else that's taking it in as well. Hometown team, really, or home province team, and Rylan Kleiter playing a lot. I kind of marveled a little bit at how many teams we had here that were prior participants and such. Now it's going to be a little hard to kind of build back up after playing in something like the Briars 2 weeks ago, or less. Yeah, this team will be hungry though, and you mentioned there off the hop that
they definitely had a good week, but they were kind of your consensus favorite dark horse team, just through knowing how much they're playing, and they're playing well, and they're a young team that you want to really cheer for. And I think it just wasn't the week they really wanted, and it was like a 3-5 record, and certainly a little disappointing. So they'll be hungry to get right back on the horse, and being obviously just around the corner here from Martensville, short drive up from Saskatoon certainly helps.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice to see with Sam Brook here as well, and these teams that are in that age group where they're really, the Brier was really important to them. Obviously, they would have loved to have made the playoffs, but they're also building to probably as much towards the next Brier than they are this Brier. So, so as a result, they're keen, they're ready to play, and they play a lot. Both those teams. And proving a little bit that Skips can actually sweep a little bit.
Decent sweep from Kleiter. I think he was maybe he just grabbing the broom really low down. I think he was maybe surprised that he had the opportunity to sweep as much as it did, because it looked like it was going to over curl.
Yeah. So I'm going to go a little simpler here for maybe an end. A discussion on that shot for just an open field. I don't know what they're talking about, but anyway, it was made perfect.
Yeah, I would certainly expect Kleiter here to make the playoffs. Again, the top 8 do. I think those 2 American teams, and Chase Sinet and Corey Dropkin at 2-0. Scott Howard, Bruce Corsi, Justin Kaltoff, another two local teams there, also at 2-0. So setting themselves up well for a playoff push.
So I don't know. Maybe Marty. Is it as far as tiebreakers, not necessarily games as such, but how are they? Obviously, head-to-head's usually the first one, but that doesn't work if you have more than 2 teams quite often. So, what is the plan for deciding those teams that might be tied at the end?
Good question.
Okay. Sorry about that.
No. It is interesting when it's an open sort of 16-team standing like that.
Yeah.
I guess head to head would be ideal, but you're right. I know they're doing last stone draw, so it wouldn't surprise me in a spiel like this to try to utilize that as much as you can. And as much as I know that players aren't too happy about it, and I've certainly lost out on some playoffs I deserve to be in because of last stone draws, but sometimes it just is the thing you need to use. So I'd imagine a combination of those two would be what you'd need.
Yeah, especially like you say, when you don't play anybody. We had a situation in a junior provincial last week where the team that I was filling in as a coach, because the dad was a coach and he was sick last week. Everybody in Nova Scotia has been sick this year, I think, but we had a situation where we were tied, and we were both making the playoffs, but their decision on who got hammer, and I couldn't figure it out. We never played them, and we had the better last stone draw of the 2. We were seated higher than they were 2, but they ended up with hammer based on the fact that they played a higher seed in their qualifying game than we did. I couldn't figure it out. So you get some interesting decisions on how these things are decided, but it was right in the book. It was, our official was great. He was saying, "Oh, this is." So this is just the way it's written. I'm like, okay, fine. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sport filled with different formats and different. There really is no consensus choice, and that's good and bad. It played a doubles event last year where we lost it in the playoffs from 3/4 of an inch over 4 draws to the button. Right, we were 2-1 and didn't make the playoffs off of that measure. So it's like, is that fair? Not necessarily, and I would never I'd never debate that. But at the same time, there's all of these different decisions that need to be made in this odd turn-based sport that sometimes you just need to use things like you said, like higher ranking or whatever.
Yeah, I'm not a massive fan of the last shot draw making decisions on that, but I think the slams probably have it about as close as you could get, where you do have an opportunity to have at least one tiebreaker now. And you still might lose out on it if you're really unlucky, but at least it does bring a couple more teams into having an opportunity that, maybe at least have the better draw to the buttons or whatever. But anyway, it's I get it. I know the reasons. I understand it, but I don't really love it for sure.
Well, and then there's the the whole idea with like the triple knockout is something that the sport has always had,
Yeah.
and and the slams have moved towards that. But the point that I've brought up is it's like, well, if we have fans of these teams in wherever, let's say, it's sometimes it's nice to have a schedule ahead of time, right?
Yeah.
To know when they're playing, like so I can watch.
I go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying that's another concession you make, right? As much as it's good for the players, like, as a fan of, let's say, a team, which I know is not necessarily too standard here in North America, but certainly abroad it is, you want to be able to give people the opportunity to at least watch.
No, I think you're bang on. We hosted. I chaired a couple of slams here. We hosted two slams here in Little Pictou County in 19 and 24, but we or 23, but we probably wouldn't have done it if we were going to be a triple, because the marketing of the draw and the draw times is crucial for us. I mean, we're not in Brad Gushu province, but we're in Brad Gushu territory. Not most areas are, but we'll almost fill our stadium for even round robin games with Gushu in them, where triple knockout, when you don't know when he's going to play or anything like that, it's just difficult, and that goes for much more than just his team. So I think just marketing the event itself is so much easier if you know what the games are going to be and easier to do, and more people bums in seats. So that's what it's all about most of the time. And yeah, I like that. I like that factor. The triple is just tough if you're a fan at all, and everybody's a fan of somebody. So
you're in the greater Gushu area, so you got to be
you
got to be careful, the Gushu fans.
Yeah, you're right.
But I think the sporting merit is right. Like obviously you drop in and you play a team and you get games against teams you're better suited to play, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's one of those things in the sport where you need to make your case, but then you need to say, well, there is really no right answer at the same time.
Yeah. It's kind of along the idea of making sure you have your absolute best teams in the country in the Brier and such, but very few sports guarantee that. I mean, you pick any sport you want, baseball, football. Nobody's going to guarantee that it's the top 8 teams every year that make the playoffs, just because of where some are and what divisions they play in, and where they're located. There's all kinds of reasons, and it doesn't always work out that way. It's pretty tough to do.
Well, and Epping not making the playoffs out of the Brier, I know that was super controversial, and it's I think he's right, and whoever wants to critique the system is totally right. But I can't remember, one of the players who was just quoted in one of those news stories said, it's like any sport. Like you watch the World Cup, in soccer, or whatever. There's usually a group of death. That's where that name came from, is because there'd be a group that has the Netherlands or France and a bunch of really good teams. All of a sudden, it's like that is just a part of sport sometimes, right? And they had a system where it's based off of points, and it just didn't work out that way. So, it's hard to cry foul as much as that they had every right to, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah, no, World Cup, that's a very good example, actually, and you're right. It's you can't make it happen perfectly every time, and they very rarely hear anybody whining about that at the World Cup level. They might not be happy that they're in that group, but they just recognize that that's going to probably happen every year to somebody. So anyway, well, we talked our way through this end. We apologize if you're somebody that wanted to hear us talk about the rocks going up and down the sheet, but hopefully you had a little more fun listening to our conversation than what we had. We do have a blank end at the end of this, and Rylan Kleiter will take Hammer to the 4th, and a 2-1 lead here. The curling stadium, Martensville International Curling Event.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed, more innovation.
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Welcome to the RockShop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. TheRockShop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind. From pre-seed to post-harvest, you can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
They're almost all volunteer, and we'll finish that next end. So we're back for the fourth end here at the Curling Stadium, Martensville International Bonspiel in Martensville, Saskatchewan. We've been here before. Great little spot, and they do a wonderful job with their events, and they have great ice conditions and everything you want to put on a bonspiel. Lots of good competition, lots of good competition locally. They don't have to go very far even to find a lot of good teams. So we have a good one here with Saskatchewan native and from just up the road, and Rylan Kleiter holding a 2-1 lead after 3. Marty, pretty open end the last end. I don't know if that'll drag on too long. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, well, we've got the center. If they're able to meld this on, I think it would tell a story, but they're going to bounce slightly. That's Alex Mangan throwing lead stones for this Dutch team. Yeah, for Team Kleiter, yeah, I mean, you're showing how much it's going to curl because they want to come around to the face, and they're going to come on the other side. I mean, maybe they're just going to hit. Never mind, they're going to just take that out. With bumper weight, yeah, it should shape up. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. Kleiter will definitely take one blank, but something tells me that there's this, they know the momentum's on their side. You don't want to give this Gosgens team a chance to figure out the ice or anything. I thought one thing that they did really well yesterday, especially, was just read the ice. They had these hits down perfect. You want to sort of keep riding that momentum as much as you can.
Yeah. So a good little hit, just a lightweight hit there for Kleiter Foursome.
I believe this is Simon Spitz throwing second stones here for Team Gosgens. They have a little bit of a cadre that plays. I think Tobias Vanderherk is the one who didn't make the trip out.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I'd imagine there's no direct flight from Amsterdam to Martensville, but I could be wrong.
No, probably not. Yeah, I admire the, it's not an easy trip. I've made the trip to Europe a few times and back, and it's just doing nothing, not having to go and curl in the bonspiel. It takes about 2 or 3 days to kind of really get back on schedule, and it's these teams that do this in all sports that do this on a regular basis is just amazing to me if they're able to pull it off.
Really nice shot there from Simon. Yeah, I agree. It's, especially when you're kind of going to these bonspiels that, they're not straight up in Toronto, or they're not even really in Calgary, right? Where you have that drive or something afterwards, or you need the connecting flight, it'll wear on you. And full credit to all these European teams that make these treks out, and for long periods of time. It's a big commitment, really big commitment.
Yeah. Going to Sault Ste. Marie in a couple of weeks for the Canadian Masters, and it's coaching, actually, my sister's senior women's Masters team, and we're flying to Toronto, and then we're actually driving from Toronto to Sault Ste. Marie. I don't know who's making these decisions exactly, but 7-hour drive from Toronto to Sault Ste. Marie. But so I'm sure there's a way we could have flown to there, but I don't know. It probably just didn't work out financially or something. I don't know. Whatever the reasons are. It'll be fun. I've never driven there. I've never lived in Ontario for a lot of years and never really went to that part of the country. So it's going to be interesting.
It's beautiful up there for sure. I know that there's like local flights to the Sioux from Toronto Island. So if you would fly into Pearson where you'd almost need to go downtown and take the island. So
Yeah.
it makes more sense just to hop in your car and drive. It just.
I think they're thinking too, we probably need a vehicle when we get there. I think they are providing transportation, but it's always nice, especially if you're playing something, you have a lot of free time to be able to get yourself around, I guess. So anyway, we'll see what happens, and hopefully everybody will be good and refreshed. We're going a day early, so
nice.
At 60 years old plus, you always need a couple of extra days to get ready.
Absolutely. I think Kleiter's just instructing Matt Hall just to hit this redstone and then roll and give them a corner, I think.
Yeah, that would be a call that you'd expect to see a lot of times here now. It's almost close enough that it might roll into the rings, but you don't necessarily want it to roll in the rings, but it might be what happens. It is really gentle. That's very nicely done.
It's a really good weight too, like really controllable. Yeah, just something that you can just feel the momentum already change in the end. I mean, they have this double attempt, but it's got to be awfully precise. It looks pretty steep too.
Yeah, I think it's probably going to be a roll to the close to the other rock versus that. But yeah, because I agree, it looks quite steep without throwing an absolute rocket at it. Okay, so basically showing you the same shot about 3 or 4 different times here. It's pretty much, unless you're going to go hard for the double, it's really a hit and roll and just figuring out what weight you want to throw for that.
Mm-hmm. Lawrence Hookman throwing a third stone to this team, but Alex Mangan's the one in the house at or skip stones.
Let's throw an out turn at this.
It's curling on them.
I was going to say, this one's curling pretty hard right now. Oh, heck of an effort. Just had to hit a little bit thicker, and he would have ended up in a good spot if he probably would have taken a little of the speed off. Could have ended up maybe corner on the yellow, which would have been not too bad, but not absolutely awful where it is.
Yeah, I mean, at least there's 2 pieces of red granite right in there. Now, this is an interesting play call. I think, yeah, they're gonna come take a look. They were. The initial thought was obviously is to hit that redstone top button and move over, but I think they're looking at maybe just sort of punching this yellow up a little bit. Hard to. It looks like it's corner frozen ever so slightly, but I guess the idea is if you come right to the nose, it'd be really hard to get rid of either yellow stone because there might be a jam opportunity on the back red, and then the red stone that's in the top 4, maybe it just gets pushed out slightly so it's exposed.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to see an overhead of that or not, but if it is, that would maybe help us out a little bit. But yeah, it's not a bad call. You tap that yellow over a little bit towards where Rylan's broom is. You probably just flop right on top of the red one that's there anyways, if they're assuming the red's a little behind the yellow.
It's aggressive for sure.
I don't know if that's what he's playing though. It looks like I gotta believe you need a little more ice than that if you're trying to actually just make the tap.
Yeah, very curious to see this outcome here from Josh. It's a big weight for sure.
He's showing some weight.
Oh, wow. Sure.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good outcome.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly what I was thinking they were going to play, but worked out okay. Gosgens, if he can hit this one and not roll too far, I could set up a very difficult double. Might be able to escape this without giving up the 2 here yet.
Yeah, really creative play calling from Kleiter that Yellows look pretty steep too. There's no natural double.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he'd be going after that one, Marty, if he'd be trying to, I don't know if you want to roll on that direction. You just set up the double on your own.
Yeah, I don't think this was intended to come to the nose, but it looks like they will.
Yeah.
Now that also might be steep too.
I think that would be I think that would be tough to make. He's not going to go after that at all. I'll try to do this without hitting his own.
Yeah. Extra weight. Coming up to skip stones, I mean, if you could make this and get just a tiny, tiny roll.
Yeah.
Another big shot here from Josh. Really helping this team set up this end.
He's overthrowing.
Might get it the thin way.
Well, it was closer than I thought it was going to be, actually. I thought he was closer to being on that back one, but. Well, Gosgens going to need a roll here to try to prevent the double and possible blank.
Yeah, again, there's that aggressive play calling from Kleiter. You know, commended for going after it, but I think there was another way they could have played this end.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, he was in a position to look pretty seriously at getting two versus just blanking this end. It's not necessarily an end that you're looking to blank anyways. Fourth, but he's might get forced to one here in a minute. So Wouter Gosgens. Well, this one pretty gentle as well. Needs to make sure he hits the yellow. Very nice shot. Oh, he's not going to stay. Oh, he did stay. Okay. And that went a long way. I didn't think that would go that far. The houses, I don't find the houses to be especially fast here, but Rylan managed to get that one almost out.
Yeah, a bit of a lifeline here for Kleiter if he can get a big long roll. Deuce is possible.
Yeah, you're right. I think you get over there in the company, in the neighborhood of the company on the back of the house there.
Yeah.
Somewhere out there around the A and the N in that circle, you could manage to get out of this with a blank here. Well, we're gonna have another chat. It actually didn't take very long to decide the last shot he threw down here because it was that was an interesting call. I thought that might take a little bit more discussion.
I'm not sure if they're trying to hit the double, go for the blank, like set up the blank, or if they're, or maybe weight was the discussion. I think this line's a little tighter, if I'm not mistaken. I think you got to push this out. Good chance to force here depending on where you get the roll. Final stone here. Gosgens in the fourth end. And didn't want to really flirt with that one at the back 12, but looks like it'll give the double.
Whoops. Yeah, I think it's tough though to make the double and blank. I think it looks tough to me, anyways.
Yeah, maybe just try to aim somewhere in that neighborhood. If you jam, then you score your one. But
yeah, a 2-1 lead right now, so you don't want to flirt with giving up a silly sort of steal, if you will. Because you're working hard on this. This just might not hang around. No, didn't actually see where that ended.
I think it just ended up right at the edge of the 8. So I think Kleiter scores 1.
So
handcrafted in Canada, Hardlines Ice Pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best broom in the game. Hardline, join the revolution.
SaskTel Be Kind Online wants to stop cyberbullying. Want in on the action? We award up to $1,000 for youth initiatives that help spread kindness and prevent bullying. What great idea do you have to help stop bullying? SaskTel can help. Go to BeKindOnline.com and apply for a grant today. Together, we can make a difference.
For over 20 years, the Sandra Schmirler Foundation has granted more than $9 million to hospitals across Canada for life-saving equipment for premature and critically ill babies. In the past 4 years alone, $4 million has been granted thanks to the curling community's incredible generosity. The need continues year-round, and with your help, we can ensure every baby has the chance to grow up and become a champion, just like Sandra.
So we're back for fifth end action. Pretty low scoring affair so far, Marty. It's hasn't really opened up quite the way I thought it might be, but I guess you had mentioned earlier that Matt Hull had a little more of an influence on a little less or a little more controlled aggression, I guess, for the Kleiter team. So maybe that's the difference these days.
Yeah, I mean the play calling in that end was quite aggressive, and they were really tempting this Dutch team to get a miss, really, and they didn't get one. I mean, I think, there's a different way they could have played that end where, they didn't need to do that little tap up. I thought the hit that I think Josh's first, where they threw a lot of weight and it kind of made that little jam at the back, that was quite creative. But yeah, I mean, maybe just a little bit back to basics here. Wouldn't surprise me. I mean, this is a team that has really put pressure on with the center guards and have set themselves up really well. I think the lead has been fantastic today. Wouldn't surprise me if a steal is on.
Yeah. So Gosgens will go to the wings behind the corner guard. Set the box, kind of, as I like to call it. It's see it quite often. Pretty regular strategy with the the competitive teams around the country and around the world just kind of throw the one to the 4-foot, throw the corner, throw a guard, draw around the corner, and then figure it out from there. Mentioned earlier, Gosgens does have to win this to keep his playoff hopes alive, and Rylan Kleiter can improve his playoff hopes greatly also by winning this one. He's 1-1, but he's working hard on this. Don't know if they can sneak it by. He's going to be a little light, I think. Had a few of those today for the Dutch team.
Yeah, just a bit light for Megan again.
Makes it hard. It's a different game when your lead is on or when he's not on or she's not on. It's if they're playing well, I liken it a little bit to, they often say about referees and umpires or whatever, you don't notice them if they're doing a good job. And it's kind of the same with front ends, and particularly leads. You don't really notice them too much when they're playing really well, but when they're a little bit off, it's a struggle.
And something for Alex too, that second stone has been light now, I think twice.
Yeah, at least twice.
Yeah, so just something also to keep, it could be one of those things too, when you're a lead, I find it's actually quite easy to calibrate your rocks. You're throwing something similar, so it's easy to find. So it might be something to watch out for later on in the game.
Yeah. The lead gets a traditional dumping ground as well. If you're good enough to figure it out, you know that he or she's not going to have great rocks. if there are rock issues, quite often there's not. I'm not sure there are here. I know our club has really no issues with rocks, so it doesn't much matter. So
and the lead always has to say yes. The lead has to always accept the rocks, no matter what.
So run back here now. Ooh, looked like we saw that. Almost saw that same shot a couple of minutes ago. It was a great shot. Got rid of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Simon Spitz has been really close on those run backs. Really, really close. They've found the ice, I think, down the middle of the sheet. They've been reading it well. It's just that little sliver off to being able to really open something up.
So Matt Hull now, second stone for Team Kleiter. Going to throw the guard back up. This one's going to be okay. Away by Matt.
Yeah, I like how it's just a little off center too. It's kind of tempting to play at it. If you do play the straight peel, it's possible that it could catch on that corner guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really got to be mindful of that.
No turn peel. Tough part about this, I find, is that you really, if you're going to keep going with that peel and you're not going to play the double peel, you're going to have to make the run back somewhere, because that red rock being out there makes this drawing of this guard quite a bit easier. It doesn't have to be perfect all the time. So you've got a little bit of wheel room and give these teams a little bit of room to work with. And it's going to be pretty hard to get a real total miss here that allows you to get at shot rock.
Mm-hmm. Something to watch too on the out turn side, this port, that's a really high guard. It's definitely manageable.
Mm-hmm.
Just seeing Gosgens draw to the pin there in the second end, just knowing how it kind of took a little bit of a wider path to get right out there, because you kind of can't tick off that yellow top four stone if you were going to draw to the pin if you needed to. So another thing to watch for sure.
Yeah. Now, if that one close enough, if that one close enough, you can probably get rid of both of these here, which would make this a much better situation at least.
Yeah.
I'd throw this one good, though. They had an opportunity a couple of hands ago to clean up like this, and they just didn't make it. So Need to make this one.
Gosgens likely, again, happy just to blank this because you get the hammer in 6 and 8. So,
yeah.
It's Lawrence Hookman.
Well, same problem, not quite as bad, but same problem. You gotta be able to make that and get rid of all of them. I think it's including your shooter.
Yeah, might have even just touched that corner guard.
Yeah.
Ever so slightly, which even if you send that into the rings, it's something else, right?
Yeah. So the lefty, Josh Matter. Yeah, has to put the guard up once again.
They're going to try to get this to like a 2 or 3. What's out there, though?
So a real quick definition, Marty, for probably any of the fans we might have here that don't know what you mean by that.
Thank you. When I said it, I was like, oh, yeah, that maybe somebody wouldn't.
Most of them probably know, but.
So there's, the number system, 1 to, it goes to 10, right? Or no, what does it go to? To be honest, I just use it for guards.
Yeah, most people now are just using it for guards, but it goes to 11 if you take it all the way through.
So 1, 2, 3 would be your guards from the hog line to the top 12. So this would be a 3 guard because it was close. A 2 guard would be kind of a middle guard, and then a 1 would be a high guard. Of course, it is close. The double's there. Nice shot.
Yeah, really good shot. And that's the one risk, I guess, if with taking that guard into the 3 area versus leaving it up as a 1 or a 2. We'll see it again. Much harder run back if it's a little higher.
I was happy for this Dutch team to make one of these. This is, a good line call, good sweep, excellent. Yeah, they kind of, I guess it was a little bit more weight than they wanted. Obviously, Matt Hall was carving it for a good chunk there just to make sure it got over. A 2 would have been ideal, but again, it's somewhere in that range where if you left the 3, they had the run, but if you got closer to a 2 or 1, they just had the double peel. So, I mean, that was certainly a hard shot, and a stuff would be likely in that circumstance. So, worth the risk for the Kleiter team, I guess, on the whole.
Yeah, I think so. It's I'm with you on that. I think that you're looking at the line first on that one, and because you're not bringing it right in the house, even if he does make the double peel as he did, or the run back there rather as he did, you still have lots to work with if you're Kleiter and you're not in any real danger at this point. So, sometimes guys are just going to make those. Sometimes they make them when you leave them out there too. So, guys working hard here. I don't think this
right
is
away.
Yeah. A little further probably than where we've been.
Yeah.
And Rylan just didn't make that adjustment.
Yeah, I think you're bang on. That was a wider path, and very few times that we actually got out to the wings on a proper outside in draw.
Interesting. Not really taking much different for ice, I don't think. I don't remember where Rylan was, but I might have been a little tighter than that.
Yeah, I guess Rylan's draw didn't really come up a ton.
No, it didn't go far enough to come up.
Yeah. Yeah, you definitely have some tolerance in where this rock ends up in the rings. Anywhere top 12, top 8, heading in towards the path towards the 4-foot would be ideal.
Yeah.
Great opportunity for this team to capitalize on, for sure.
Yeah. And why wouldn't he think about coming right through the port and burying behind the one, say, above the hill and Churchill there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's more margin for error just because there are the 2 guards you can kind of come around on, but I know what you mean. You are coming on a new path.
Yeah.
But maybe they were talking, maybe they saw something in Rylan's throw that they know that they can do differently.
Yeah, I mean, I like this shot with hammer better than probably going around the other one too. It's just thinking that if you did go in there, it wouldn't be bad. But again, if you slide a little tiny bit deeper, leave it a little bit open, you could end up all of a sudden with a very difficult shot on your last one. So,
So the sweepers, I think they anticipated the slower path and were sweeping it quite often, which was, or quite early, which was, I think, the right idea, but could have got off a little earlier. Also, because they were keeping it out too.
Yeah,
they're pushing that rock out. It kind of gave Team Kleiter some backing too.
No, for sure, yeah. Yeah, Rylan has to make quite an adjustment. It's not just a little adjustment, but he does have the opportunity, or had the opportunity, to see Gosgens come in there and get a time on that, and really maybe have a little better sense of what this is going to be like out here. You've got maybe a couple more rocks down here. It'll clean up a little bit, but he definitely has to add a little something to what he threw last time.
And watch for this team to get pretty tight to this high yellow guard.
Yeah. I say this one's going to have to curl a bit. I don't know if he's going to get there. Doesn't look like it. So a great opportunity for our team from the Netherlands with a chance to draw for two here in the fifth end, tie this up.
Yeah, that's a difficult miss for Rylan. I know we're just trying to make that adjustment and maybe getting fooled by that path a bit. Yeah, that's a disappointing miss, because the shame is that the tolerance is on the light side. Because even if they take away that draw path, like you said, they'll have to sort of come through the center for their two. So, yeah, certainly an unfortunate miss.
So Gosgens with his same shot he just threw, really. Give it a little extension at the end. Has his own to work with back there if he needs it, but should be very close on this. Keeper's going semi-hard on this one. Should be okay. And this will slide right into just about the tee line. So a nice draw for two, and we have a tie game after 5 ends. We're tied at 2 here in Martensville. We'll be back right after the break.
The people have spoken, the votes are in, and the players are ready to rock. At curling's first ever All-Star event, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th, where 13 of the world's best men's and women's curlers face off for a star-studded celebrity pro-am, a unique skills competition, and an all-star skins game you won't want to miss. Got a ticket? We'll see you in Music City. Don't have one? Better hurry. They're going fast. The 2025 TCG All-Star Game, live from Nashville, April 15th and 16th. Let's rock.
So we're back here for the final three ends or probably the final three ends, barring an extra end in our game between Gosgens and Kleiter. Gosgens out of the Netherlands, a Dutch team, looking to kind of finish their season on a little higher note than it's been to date, and Kleiter coming off a somewhat disappointing performance at the Brier, I guess. I still have a hard time saying that. I think that they looked quite good all the time, but record didn't reflect where they'd like to be, and trying to maybe get a W on the books for the end of the season here. Tied up at 3. That last end kind of swung around, Marty. It didn't look much like it was going to be a deuce for Goosen, and turned it around.
Yeah, they've really held on in games. This they're 0-2, which is disappointing, but they've really held on. I think back-to-back 6-5 losses to Howard and then to Height. In the game yesterday against Howard, they stole one in the 8th to keep the game going, but lost in an extra. So they're certainly a difficult team to play against. That see how close they are to being precise with those run backs, but their draw weight I think has also been pretty good. I think they've on the whole, maybe not in this game, but it wouldn't surprise me to see this team even maybe try to play really aggressive and try to take one on Kleiter. Again, certainly a team that is quite cagey to play.
Yeah, and definitely a big end to score here. We always talk about that. 6th end in these 8-end games is, in any game that's close, is a big end to score. If you're down 1, up 1, or tied, it's certainly a big end to score a point, whichever way you have to do it. So you can see the 2 center guards went up for Gosgens. Rylan Kleiter going to ask his lead, Trevor Johnson, to come around those. And he looks pretty good. Like to stay above the T line here, but looks like he will. Oh, very nicely done.
Yeah, really nice. He's got that weight down all day.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me to see Kleiter play, in that kind of a little probing, so to speak, not being too aggressive, just knowing that they will likely have those 2 hammers. A deuce is great, but, they will be, I think, playing it somewhat cautiously, aggressively.
Yeah.
Just a quick look at the other games happening here, and you can watch all these on Curling Stadium, Curling Zone's YouTube channel. We've got Braden Calvert and Drew Height. Braden Calvert up 5-0, 3 straight steals of 1. Meantime, Jordan McDonald is up 3, or my apologies, now tied 3-3. Chase Sinnott with 2 steals back-to-back as well. And we have Scott Howard up 5-2 over Wesley Wendling. That's entering the 6th end. First 2 are just into the 5th.
Yeah, Wendling. Where is Wendling? One of the teams out of the U.S., or are they from around out here somewhere?
Yeah, they're just calling the game yesterday. It's a bit of a hodgepodge. I think Wendley himself is originally from Wisconsin, but now lives in Minnesota. And then the other 3 players are from Pennsylvania, Cape Cod. They're Massachusetts. They're out on the East Coast. So just that the U.S. junior teams can just be so disparate like that.
Yeah. So Kleiter opting to clean things up a little bit here. He'll try to make a peel. That's the top one. Doesn't get the back one. Gosgens had tried to come around that and came up just a little bit short.
Yeah, that was super close. So it looks like they're trying to come around that 3 or that 2 guard and just try to freeze on that Yellowstone.
Okay. I thought at first they might be looking at throwing a guard up here, a little higher guard up here, but I'm not sure.
He just kind of intimated that they wanted it right there, but maybe it is the guard. It just based off of the broom that Gosgens had down. Maybe it is the guard. You're right. Yeah, there's certainly a way that Team Kleiter could miss this shot and end up quite badly, but certainly worth a try. They were awfully close to even tripling.
Yeah. Matt Hull will try to bring some weight with this one. I don't know if he's going to overcurl, maybe. No, not bad. Leaves the shooter, but the shooter's not bad for Kleiter. He doesn't have hammer in this end.
Yeah, definitely some tolerance in this. I think if you do come corner frozen, though, it's pretty good.
Oh, I guess Kleiter does have hammer in this end. Sorry, I think I said that backwards.
That's right.
The game ending beside us. So looking for kind of a corner freeze here on this one. So it's going to be a little light, I think.
Yeah, played to the tolerance well, and the sweepers maybe thought they could drag it.
See Kleiter playing the rock in the house at some point and try to roll it over behind the corner guard, sit 2.
Yeah, I think that's the alternative, but then I guess you just, again, it's that playing how aggressive do you want to play.
Yeah.
Knowing that they could just draw him behind and then you're coming up to skip stones with something buried.
Yeah, definitely a possibility. And Gosgens has been pretty good with draw weight. He's made some pretty good draws.
Hoping that you could, or going straight down. Yeah, I guess they're maybe seeing if you could hit that center into the corner, maybe you can get a good bounce, but
yeah,
center rip again, I think. This way, okay.
Yeah, I think he's trying to go kind of, well, not maybe exactly straight back, but I think he's trying to make yellow-red here. I think, anyways.
Yeah.
But you're right. I like that idea of actually peeling that one towards the right-hand corner guard, maybe get a little bit of a bounce off it. But let's see.
Because if it's just that single red guard, let them try to throw a run back or something.
Yeah, this one's going to pop through the hole, I think. Oh, no. Did kind of what we thought. Just not going to get quite as lucky as he needed to go, but it's a good throw.
Yeah.
Opens up that side, too. He might need to use that side to score here yet, so.
Yeah, this is the third's final stone, so we're really getting into the nitty-gritty stuff here. If they make this freeze perfectly, then yeah, for Kleiter, I don't know what
yeah,
they could maybe come around at some point.
Yeah,
not right away.
You're right. The freeze would make it really tough, and anything that kind of corners that red one and offers probably 3/4 of a rock at least guard on the zone red would be really good.
Mm-hmm.
Wolfman.
I don't think you want to bump. Oh, it's down way to think.
No, I don't think so either. It's not going to do either. So
yeah.
It's okay. I think if it was me, I'm actually looking for it. He obviously wanted it in there. I'm looking for it to be a little bit less, get a little less curl than that actually, and try to take this run back that way, and also protect my own. I think that's what I'm going to be looking at. But
it'd be Josh Mattern's final stone in the 6th.
Yeah, running red. Be nice if something was your own here, but can't be too picky on this one. He needs to get rid of a couple of rocks.
Not a bad little result there.
No.
The role of that guard's actually quite nice because now all they really need to do is just tap up that yellow to sit 2.
Yeah, the problem, of course, is that the other team gets a throw in between that.
Yeah, of course.
Always the problem. It's always the
Yeah.
trouble with that shot set. Good to this. He could come right around, too. He could come right around the yellow and go to the back button if he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
He might do that on his last one. We'll see. Put a little extra pressure on.
Both these teams will be playing in the Speedy Creek Shootout next weekend in Swift Current, Saskatchewan. So just down the road. Of course, we'll have that here on Curling Zone Curling Stadium as well.
Speedy Creek Shootout. Is Speedy Creek a place or a company?
I believe it's a company. Yeah, we'll be streaming that one as well. So again, I think there's a nice little package of events here for a couple of these teams. I know prepping for Worlds, or as you kind of mentioned, just kind of wrapping up the year, and a good mixture of some international teams. Obviously, with this Dutch side being there, I think there's the Czech champions are coming into town, so there'll be lots of good teams again. Curling season is not over yet. I think Dean's in this as well, if I'm not mistaken. So that will just over curl.
Maybe you got to move a little bit, buddy. We can't see. There we go. Yeah, over curl slightly for sure.
Yeah, I think you have to get rid of the staggers, but yeah, I think they're trying to see where they want to send that Yellowstone. Pointed out.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, as you pointed out, just for later, that obviously we lost that sheet to our left, so just something to watch out for speed on draws. But what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that I don't know. I don't know for sure if he can come around that throwing enough weight to bump yellow red and remove it or not, or if he's going to do that. It's probably more likely.
Yeah, that's a sound call.
And I also learned that Speedy Creek is actually a nickname for the city of Swift Current.
Of course.
And it's actually was named. The name was adopted by the Northwest Mounted Police back in 1874, and it's Cree word used for fast flowing. So next week we might not remember that. So good to know it now. Looks like the double peel coming up, probably. Double peel, maybe even get it going in the right direction towards something in the house. Maybe add an extra rock in the house, which make things a little better for you. But for now, get rid of those guards, and I think that would be the first step.
Mm-hmm. Big shot. You get a real thin part, not a ton of weight.
No, I think he wanted to make sure he got the yellow somewhere in the house.
Oh, great shot.
Really, really good shot.
It did leave some kind of hit, but oh man. Certainly a way you can miss this.
Let's see it again here. Thrown with not a ton of weight for that very reason, really.
Yeah, that was a really mature call there, just to throw that kind of that downish weight peel. Really well managed, great line call. I think they had the weight down too, the sweepers.
I'm going to throw a hit here. I think a lot of teams, I might be wrong, but I think a lot of teams would be looking at coming around that with this rock. And, if you come around, make sure you don't set up the double on the red, yellow, red, then good force. This is, got to be careful with this one.
Yeah, I guess if you make it perfect, there is the draw to the 4-foot for your 1.
Yeah.
Again, they're just looking for that kind of a thick part of the rock and just have it roll right to the corner of the yellow. Obviously can't get quite frozen, but could get close.
Yeah. Roll just really where the broom is now. If you could roll that far, that would be best case, I think.
Yeah, anything thin, I think you get into some trouble. I think a little up weight.
Yeah,
they did just leave it exposed, though.
Yeah, I just think that was a really hard shot, because I think if you hit a little too thick, you do that, you roll over the top and leave them two. If you hit a little tiny bit thin, you still might jam the yellow partly on the red and leave it in the rings. I don't know. I know the other shot's riskier, but I think it ended up with a better result. But anyway, Rylan Kleiter now with a hit for 2 here to take a 2-point lead as we head to the 7th. It feels like we should be in the 7th by now, but we aren't quite there yet.
Yeah, nice, easy line up here for 2 for Kleiter. Very happy to take their 2 if they can pull this one off.
Perfect. Yeah, perfect time and opportunity made possible by his first shot. A lot of room to work here because he's got the little saver on his own. If he ever hits it a little bit on the high side, the shooter will get caught. You don't want to hit it first, though. Get away with it. So nicely done for Rylan Kleiter. You can call that almost a skip's deuce, that one. So we will he will take a 5-3 lead as we move to the 7th end right after the break.
Stronger agronomics, better returns, greater peace of mind from pre-seed to post-harvest. You can count on the Victory Canola program to keep you and your farm ahead of the curve. Grow with us at victorycanola.com.
Welcome to the rockshop.net, the official store for the Grand Slam of curling. Whether you're looking for the best hats, stylish clothing, fun toys, or unique accessories, the Rock Shop has it all. Shop online anytime at therockshop.net for exclusive Grand Slam of curling gear, or come see us in person at your next event. Therockshop.net, where fans find their favorite curling gear.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed, more innovation.
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
We're started here in the 7th end. Rylan Kleiter, first rock, top of the button. Pretty traditional move. And our Dutch team was trying to throw a corner guard, and they threw one. They must be going to go double corners because that's a really, really high corner guard.
Yeah, they're going to need to go a little aggressive on this end for sure. And just knowing how, competent this Kleiter team is at throwing hits and reading the ice here, you really got to get into a position where you can get a deuce or more. You don't want this team being able to play open in the eighth.
So looking for a center guard here, and this kind of the if you're going to zone this one, this would be a 4/5. No, just 4.
Really well managed rock there. Matt Haldis on the plow, and then obviously had Josh ready to go on the carve. This group of sweepers on this team is quite talented. And then you obviously have Kleiter, who's a decent sweeper himself through doubles. And as we saw from that one rock behind the tee line, there's lots of talent on the brush in this team, and that just goes a long way, I think, this event. And then we saw it in the Briar as well.
Yeah, I haven't quite figured out the plow effort. I'm not quite sure what to make of that one yet. I've seen it enough now that it's pretty popular, obviously, and done by a lot of teams. And I don't know exactly the concept of that.
So it comes from doubles, when you just have one sweeper anyways. So I guess the idea is that, if you're a single sweeper, let's say, realistically, you can only go full bore sweeping for about 10 seconds at your absolute max capacity.
Yeah.
So if you're able to start with a plow like this, you're able to at least start to manage the rock, right? So if you think it's maybe traveling a little down,
yeah,
you can always put that broom down and kind of assess. It's kind of like your 50% sweeping ability. So I think what you see a lot of the times is these teams will, there's obviously been taken doubles. It's going to come right to the face. That's fantastic. Comes from doubles, and these players have played it. So they say, hey, look, if you kind of throw a little down, let me put a broom down right away. Like if you throw, let's say 80% of the weight required, if I start with that plow, it gives us that extra few seconds as sweepers to calibrate. We don't need to start pounding the rock right away. I think the thing that people get wrong in its implementation is that by creating that plow, again, you are in that 50% of sweeping, you really can push rocks out. If you start doing that right away, and your line calling wasn't prepared for it, you can end up pushing a rock out, 6 inches or a foot right away. And it's kind of gone because it's imagine if you're just pounding a rock the second someone lets go, you're going to push it out of its path. So it does actually move the rock out, I think, a lot more than people expect. But if you broom for it, if you're like, okay, I'm just going to kind of maybe just a little bit tighter more generally, it is really, I would recommend if you start playing around with it, just because it's a really useful tool, especially if you have this. A lot of these teams they'll kind of have one main sweeper or one person who jumps on it right away. It's quite effective. So that was a little long-winded, but there's your answer.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. And you said it came from mixed doubles. I figured it came from when guys have to jump up, chase the rock, and they got to get the broom down, not fall on their face. So they just do that. It take a couple of seconds to do that, and then start sweeping. So that's what I do. I got to get
Friday afternoon men's or mixed doubles? Hard to say.
yeah. So the player has the control zone controlled here at the moment, and it's okay with the Dutch team. They're trying to figure out how to manufacture 2 here. They really aren't interested in getting 1. So don't know what he's looking at here is if he can come off the back one a little bit. Not quite sure that that's there. It might be though. Yeah, it could be. I guess if he hits it thin enough.
Yeah, it's kind of an awkward spacing for sure.
Yeah. Make it move a little bit. Well, that might be a great shot if it doesn't go out, and it's not going to. Pulled a little bit open. I think that was a terrific shot, really.
Yeah. It is a really good outcome. This is excellent.
I'd hit it a little bit thicker, I guess. to keep it up a little higher. But it gets pretty interesting trying to figure out what these guys are going to do at this level sort of thing in these situations. Trying to get rid of the corner guard while possibly moving your other rock into the rings, I guess, would be the plan here.
Yeah, likely.
See it pretty good there. And I know there's another corner guard, but it's so long that this is the only one really impacting your ability to get to the back red. Josh Matter. That's pretty steady. Hit a little more of this than I was thinking that they might want to hit, but let's roll the sugar over. Well, a little bit of glimmer of hope here, I think, for Gosgens. It's make a good shot here, roll it over behind the corner again.
Yeah, this port is quite large.
Yeah.
Kleiter is just half a rock away, or I guess a little bit more on that roll from making this a little more difficult. I think you can get to that back 8-1 as well with some weight too, if they ever needed to clear that out.
Yeah. Needs a little bit of a roll somewhere here. A bit of bad luck there. Could have rolled either way. One of those that if the guards aren't there, you always roll in someplace. You're never going to hit it on the nose, but when you're trying to roll one, sometimes you get caught in between. So Kleiter will look to remove this.
The call is board weight just to get across the face. Double certainly possible with that weight, and then you just want to get just the tiniest little roll here for Josh.
Yeah.
Not a big shot. Going straight right away. Oh, a little early.
I think he's going to get a little bit. Not much, though. No, probably not enough.
Yeah, I think Rylan just threw his broom up just to acknowledge there's a bit of a line calling error there. A little early to keep it straight. It is nice to have, Trevor Johnson on one side of the rock, knowing that that carve is always going to be possible, but yeah, just couldn't bring it back enough. Same thing with the plowing aspect, right? You never want to get that call too early because you definitely put yourself in some trouble.
Yeah. This one could be good.
Yeah, nice anticipation on the line call.
A little more. Got to go a little harder. It's a great shot, though. Nice roll. Maybe another few inches would be better, but still, that's a long roll. You're rolling for solid 3.5 to 4 feet. Good effort. Yeah, I'm going to give that a try. I actually have I play a couple times a week and, just in club curling, but we do have a couple of young guys that play with us that just came out of junior, and one in particular who's just an absolute beast with a broom, but we've never, ever tried that. So I'm going to give that a try this week, see what that looks like.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that helps with, and I think the Italian teams, the Swiss teams that have that kind of primary sweeper and then the secondary sweeper, they're almost a really good example of it where, they're bound to hop on it right away because they're going to be the ones curling it or keeping it straight no matter what.
Yeah.
It's, if you kind of have that rule where someone says, okay, I'm going to be the one that maybe sets this down, or you collectively, right? If you both know it's going to be maybe just a little down, but not a lot.
Yeah.
It certainly doesn't help to do something like this, or surely doesn't hurt, I should say.
Yeah.
Really got to carve this though. Really good movement on this.
That's pretty good. Very, very difficult shot now to remove that yellow.
Yeah, it's just in the perfect spot.
Yeah.
The roll on the yellow was quite crucial, but
Yeah.
I think if they're able to get.
Yeah, a good example there of the sweeping and the power down and weight over the head of the broom that managed to make that as good as it was. Looked like it was going to be much thinner than that.
Yeah, the weight on the broom and the repetitions for the carve is really important. Yeah, decision times here for Gosgens.
Yeah, it's always been a bit of a debate, like, speed versus pressure, I guess, in terms of sweeping. And I know the perfect world, it's a combination of both. But think of some of the teams that you see out there, particularly the Asian women's teams some of them are just, they don't weigh much more than the broom. So it's like, but they go 100 miles an hour, and I got to believe they're pretty effective because they're steady, and I'm sure they have enough pressure down, but they can't possibly put the same pressure down that a 200-pound guy could do. So it's interesting to see what really is the best. I guess it just depends on what you're trying to do sometimes.
And I'd imagine that the repetition, the speed aspect, in the next 5-10 years, as more and more science comes out of it, I'd imagine that'll be something that will be deemed to be more effective when you're carving the rock as well.
Yeah, yeah. So Gosgen's going to come around the outside. Got to manufacture a deuce on his own here. Look. It's going hard. This one's curling pretty good.
Yeah, this path out wide, it's really curled up here.
Sneak it by, maybe? No, not quite. That would have been really good if he got that by. He just had perfect weight. Probably T-line, maybe not even quite T-line. It would have been good, but it's not. So wide open for Rylan Kleiter. Getting to stay right there is probably pretty good.
Yeah, I think either that or a big roll where you almost come down towards the forefoot.
Yeah.
But if you do just nose it, geez, he might have to draw. You'd have to try to draw through the port or something.
Yeah, which, it's a decent sized port, but at the same time, it's not a shot they played a lot. And just it comes with a little more difficulty than just a simple come around. Matt's fairly keen on going for this cross house double, it would seem.
Yeah.
I don't know that I'd be that keen on this.
Yeah, I'd say you try to go for a little roll, or you just play the tolerance where you just you nose it and it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's when I'd be thinking that too.
Yeah, because if you nose it, it's the draw or some kind of weird triple where you're just throwing yellows. So big last shot here for Kleiter again to take control in the seventh.
That works as well, but does leave him the same draw he just had.
Yeah. Again, that was kind of the first thought we had, just trying to come into the forefoot. But yeah, you're right. You don't really want to give him the same shot. I think nose would have been a little bit more sound, but at the same time, you made it tough, and all you can do is make him shoot against two. So.
Yeah. I'm with you. I think the nose was actually a better option, but nothing really wrong with the guy having a draw against two and one of them biting the forefoot. You could actually play through the hole if you wanted to, but that would be much more difficult than necessary. Should be close on this. If he throws the exact same weight he threw the last time, 1 inch more ice, he should be okay. Looked a little heavy to me out of his hand, but I don't know that I can tell very good. I have a hard time telling when I'm on the ice.
Sweepers are down right away.
Yeah, I think it's
coming up.
Yeah.
It's coming up big.
Yeah, they got to go. Got to get a little more out of it. They get a little more out of it, and they will. Well, it's a good thing they didn't take a break anywhere along the way down there because that was needed every stroke that they fit in there. So we'll just make sure that that's the case, but well, maybe not. Might not have got there. He did. Okay. Just with Matt putting up the score, I wasn't quite sure. So one for Gosgens in the seventh end here, and he'll trail by one without the hammer as we go to the eighth end here in Martensville. Be back right after the break.
I don't remember a time when curling wasn't a part of my life. When I wasn't putting in the sweat and hard work to be the best that I can be. Clocking in the time, the effort to practice day in, day out. Curling is more than just a game. It's a family, a community. And when it's time to play, I know I'll be ready. Hardline, supporting hundreds of our next generation athletes.
Imagine being able to stream every curling game from every sheet from any event, be it your Wednesday league game, bonspiel, or corporate event. Curling Stadium offers an all-inclusive streaming solution featuring high-quality cameras, ease of use, great reliability, and minimal installation. Offering your sponsors customizable ad space on your streamed curling games and being able to sell video packages to your corporate events for increased revenue. With Curling Stadium, you can stream to any device, be it your mobile phone, tablet, or computer. Push the feed to your desired platform, be it Facebook, YouTube, or any other social media. Curling Stadium is simply the way forward. Where it's commonplace in other sports to televise every game, we want to do the same. Curling is a global sport, and it's time it gets the coverage it needs. Make your curling club the next Curling Stadium.
Saskatchewan, you know SaskTel because we're everywhere. Because being everywhere keeps us connected to you. With SaskTel sponsorships, we get to be part of your community. We're here with you, and we're here for you. It's easy to get started. All you need to do is apply. SaskTel cares. Always has, always will. To apply for sponsorship, visit sastel.com/sponsorships.
It's all sorted out, but the pre-trials and all that. So welcome back to the eighth end in our fifth draw game here with Gosgens and Kleiter. Have a dandy 5-4 score with Kleiter having hammer here in the eighth end. Jim next with Marty Thompson, and we're enjoying this one. So you mentioned before that Gosgens had stolen one to tie Scott Howard. He needs to do kind of the same thing here. Marty, how's he going to go about that?
Well, he just a ton of rocks up the middle. He ended up again just letting Howard just throw a couple yellow stones into the 4-foot and was just willing to kind of play with fire. But you can look it up on the Curling Zone YouTube channel. He had just this incredible raise, like top 12 right to the pin through a really, really small port of other yellow stones. So, you know, there's one thing that Gosgens is good at. It's throwing those nice little like light tap up weights.
Yeah.
So yeah, really wouldn't surprise me if they're just trying to sort of set this up, play really aggressively, and hope you kind of get it. Because again, it was super, super precise. The Yellowstones were essentially overlapped in the 4-foot, and he just managed to just hit it just at that little perfect angle to get it in. So we haven't seen a lot of those tap weights from Wouter today, and you know it would be something that they'd look to try to make. Now Kleiter is also playing up the middle, which certainly would help their case, but you know you need to see some precision out of this Dutch team for sure, and we have this event, you know.
Yeah. So have we seen? We just saw him make what I consider to be a bit of an odd call here in this end when he wasn't obviously his guard went up, first guard went up, and Rylan came in, but then he tried to play the freeze to Kleiter's. Now he was heavy, but regardless of that, I was very surprised he didn't put up a second guard.
Yeah, I guess in the Howard end there were no guards, if I'm not mistaken, or maybe one, and they just kind of were letting their opponents have free reign in the rings, and then just hope that they can sort of smuggle one in. This freeze is super interesting from Kleiter because now the guard's going to go up, and we're in this position where I guess he's just going to try to keep this open. But you know, you've kind of, if you're Kleiter, suddenly you've got this lock up in the front, which is not ideal. Like I said, they're such a good hitting team.
Yeah.
You kind of want to just keep it open and just trust that you can run them out of rocks.
Yeah, I'm not surprised with the Kleiter approach here. Just a little bit surprised. Well, a little bit surprised with the shot before this because he ends up putting it on the corner in his own there, and really sets up a situation if Gosgens could ever get around there and later in the end, could be very difficult to get it out. You don't want that stagger right there, I don't think, but he's got it. So it's interesting going back up with the guard again, where I just don't know where the second shot came from in this end. I don't know why he would have went in, but anyway, go ahead.
Just a quick update on the other scores. Just going to say for what else is happening on the ice, we did see Calvert and Height wrap up. Calvert stole another one, so stole 4 straight ends to take a 6-0 win there. And then we also got another final between Jordan McDonald and Chase Sinnott. I think that's maybe just outside of our picture. So now 2 sheets done. Draw weight might change. You know, we're getting into the 8th end at this point, so just something to keep in mind if we do have that kind of that clutch draw weight at the end, and you know, considering we'll be throwing a lot of guards, you know, you're gonna have to make that adjustment to throw something crucial at the end.
Yeah, you really have to pay attention. Front ends have to pay attention here, and everything as far as any potential change in speed. Let's rid of the high one.
Oh, and yeah, actually, Scott Howard and Wesley Wendling also just wrapped up their game as well. So now all 3 other games are off the ice. Be nice to be able to hear the players.
I was going to say, I can turn the volume back up a little bit now. I dream of those days when we might get to a point where we are able to have the players mic'd out there. A little bit, at least.
Yeah.
You know, some guys dream of the days when we have a telestrator. I don't know if that'll be good or bad, but anyway, it'll be fun. So what's the shot call here, Marty? I'm not quite sure. He's just going to try to bump the yellow back a little bit?
Yeah, they're going to try to get to much of that yellow as they can. I don't think it's a whole ton of weight. I guess if you just push, you could perhaps just push that second locked yellow stone to back 4, and then it's maybe something you could play with. Oh, maybe a pick. Oh, that's upsetting. That's super upsetting. Yeah. And obviously took all the weight off of it too. They were not, that was not a top 12 weight that they were able to sweep to the tee. That's a tough break.
Yeah, I don't know if I love the initial call, but regardless, we'd like to see it.
Now, if anything, that red stone is now kind of on the corner. You could maybe play with it later if you wanted to, but.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought actually once it picked, they might have been better off letting that stop a foot or 2 shorter, really, to be honest. It might have been a little better opportunity to roll something in off it or double off it. But regardless, it's an odd situation, so we'll see what they're going to do here.
Really important for Lawrence just to sort of park that miss and really execute on this one.
Well, they're back to no guards in place, so they're happy.
Yeah, apparently.
Worked before.
Yeah.
This is just a gentle shot, just really just trying to move things around a little bit, I think, more than anything else. Just right to the nose.
It's a really good line call. Really good line call.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this first thought here from Matt Hall, where this little hit and roll off the red on the 4 is always going to be there, so you can just take it away. Try to be the first one in there, even if you rolled a little bit, it'd be good. What else do you see here?
Well, yeah, I'm thinking that the hit and roll is not a bad shot at all. It's either that or you rip this hard and see what you end up with. And I don't think that's too bad either. If you get half of that red rock as we look at it on the overhead, the red's gone, the yellow's gone. You might be facing more with your last shot, but it should be pretty wide open. He's not going to have much if you get rid of all that. He's going to have to come down and probably, for this point, probably freeze to your yellow at the back of the house, back of the 4-foot. And freezes are pretty tough to not be able to get rid of these days. So I think I like the peel.
Yeah.
Took me a while to talk myself into it, but I think that's what I like.
And I like it too.
You got to be right then. Now let's see how they execute it. We're off the hook anyway if they don't make it because it's their responsibility to throw it. So.
Oh, this is a good spot.
Josh Matter with his final rock here in the 8th end. Looking to do some damage, and looks like it's going to be. Oh, they didn't.
Oh, nice shot.
Yeah, really good.
Yeah, lots of granite moving.
Got a bit of anything plus the shooter, so that's all good. Yeah, I can't really follow the Gosgens strategy here in this end. I think they had an opportunity to at least have a little better chance here at the end than they did. I just kind of some of the shot selection to me was a little off, but
yeah, I mean, if they did manage to punch that one back, the rock to pick,
yeah,
you never know.
yeah.
It was something that was really precise, and you were going to put a Yellowstone near the back, which would have helped. But yeah, I mean, hindsight's 20/20 for sure when there's a picked rock like that.
Yeah.
And some real precision needed here.
Yeah. So the freeze call for Gosgens. He does have the other rock at the top of or just the left of the 4-foot there. So that could come into play yet. Makes a perfect freeze, and Rylan just decides to kill it all. We'll see what he does first. He's had a nice draw weight for the last few rounds, so expect this to be close.
It gets wide. It takes a while to come back, but it will.
That's
Awfully good.
Yeah, really nice shot. Really nice shot.
Kleiter does have this double, and you kind of want to get as much granite moving as you can. Up next for Kleiter will be Jordan McDonald today at 4. That's going to be a really good one. And then we have, I believe, Gosgens is playing Sinet in their final. So another 2-0 team. So definitely both teams taking on some more top tier competition in their final games.
Yeah. So Rylan Kleiter playing the double. Double on the reds.
It's looking thick.
Yeah, a little bit thick, but he's pretty good shape. They need to get that out. They didn't get it out, which could be a factor here.
So this is tricky. You got to be shot. If it was just behind tee, I think you might have been a little bit happier, but.
Oh, I think you're right. Yeah, I think it would definitely have been better for Gosgens if it was just at the back of the button instead of the top of the button.
Are you surprised that they're not just going to try to tap that back ever so slightly?
I'm really surprised. Yeah, I think that's what you have to do. You take a chance. You might not tap it even far enough, but you got to try to tap it just enough that you're shot rock and maybe have a foot of space in there and hope that when he tries to get rid of it, he loses the shooter and your other one over the side counts.
Yeah, this is just showing obviously a bit of respect for Rylan, knowing you can make that hit, but yeah, an open hit. I mean, it's tough.
in the old theory would put yourself in the other team's shoes. If I'm Rylan Kleiter right now, I'm pretty happy seeing him play this shot.
Yeah, well, certainly.
I know the other one's harder, but the possibilities of what you get out of it would be better. So this one's got to come up a little more. Maybe, there we go, going to get a little roll. That's about as good as he was going to get. He probably was looking for a little more roll, but I don't think it really mattered too much as long as he was shot rock and he had to play this one is good enough. The only way it would ever matter if it over curls and ends up on the other red, but I don't expect that to happen either. Rylan Kleiter with an open hit here in the 8th end with an attempt to secure a victory. Move to 2-1 and move on to later on today, as Marty was just telling you.
Just got to make sure that the shooter stays, but otherwise, yeah, certainly in some good shape.
Yeah.
I thought they played this game really well. Yeah, I mean, there's a few sort of technical mishaps, but I thought they executed quite well, and hopefully moving on to the playoffs for this team. Top-ranked Canadian team in this field.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of controlled the game without really, dominating, if you will, the game, but I think he definitely controlled the game. And he will make his shot here, make his one here, and pick up a 6-4 victory for Team Kleiter over Team Gosgens. Great game overall, Marty. I guess it was, as you just kind of described, how the Kleiter team managed to pull off the victory here. I don't know what Gosgens could have done differently, but unfortunately for him, he moves to 0-3 and playing for pride, as they say.
Yeah, just a few misses from the Dutch team and some strategy things that obviously didn't quite work out. But yeah, a nice move on here from Kleiter, and they've got a tough game today against McDonald.
Yeah. So a reminder, we will be with you all day today. A couple of games covered on almost every draw, probably every draw to be honest, and all day tomorrow as well as we move into the playoff rounds here in Martensville. So for Marty Thompson, for Tim Burton on production, I'm Jim Nixon. We'll sign off for now and see you later today.
We asked Saskatchewan what they know about 5G.
More speed? More innovation?
It's going to make our lives a whole heck of a lot easier.
This is what 5G looks like.
Better, faster.
Sounds like one more G. Sounds pretty good.
I don't know what it means.
All you really need to know is the future of 5G is here and will continue improving through investments in network technology.
Handcrafted in Canada, Hardline's Ice Pad has revolutionized curling for over a decade. Engineered with top-tier precision and durability, it is backed by an unmatched 10-year warranty. Designed for curlers at all levels to sweep effortlessly with maximum efficiency, it is trusted by the world's best curlers, including Olympic and world champions. It is quite simply the best brew in the game. Hardline. Join the revolution.